So there's an operation that was kept secret, and it led to the capture of someone that had been, well, on the run for a while, all in Argentina. And this leads to a televised trial that made the world confront how genocide was organized. Hi, I'm Matt Haskell, and I'm a high school history teacher, and I'm taking you through Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire, line by line, lyric by lyric. And we've had Hemingway, and now we're moving on to Eichmann. So when Billy Joel sings Eichmann, he means Adolf Eichmann, the SS officer who, well, he coordinated the deportation logistics that sent Jews and other victims to the ghettos. They also arranged for folks to go to shooting sites and then eventually extermination camps during the Holocaust. He was working in the Reich Security main office and often was identified as Section 4B4 Jewish Affairs. Eichmann oversaw timetables and rail cars and quotas. His signature appears across the paper trail of mass murder. His role was not, being involved in the slaughter that took place on the battlefields of World War II, but more so the bureaucratic engine that made it, to scale. After Germany's defeat, Eichmann escaped custody. He moved through hiding places in Europe, and in 1950 he reached Argentina under the alias Ricardo Clement, later working at a factory and living in a modest Buenos Aires suburb. Survivors' tips and years of intelligence, well, all that finally converged. And in May of 1960, Israeli agents surveilled, then abducted and exfiltrated Eichmann to Israel for trial. It was an operation that was later known as Operation Finale. The abduction sparked a diplomatic clash with Argentina, which was a reminder that, bringing perpetrators to justice can be a test of, international diplomatic norms. Well, the trial opened in Jerusalem in April of 1961, and Eichmann sat in a bulletproof glass booth. He was charged with crimes against the Jewish people, crimes against humanity, and also war crimes. Prosecutors presented documents and crucially, survivor testimony from all across Europe. The world watched on television as witnesses described the selection process, transportation, the ghettos, and also the camps. Eichmann claimed he was just a functionary that was following orders, denying personal hatred for the Jews, and framing himself as more. The court rejected that defense, and in December of 1961, the court found him guilty on most of the counts. And after the appeals had failed, he was executed in June of 1962, the only civil execution ever carried out by the state of Israel as the result of a court case. This trial became, a landmark. It put the Holocaust into a public, legal narrative, and it shifted global understanding from scattered reports to a more cohesive record. And it also helped define how nations prosecute genocide and crimes against humanity. Ideas that grew around the trial still echo today. Hannah Arendt's phrase, the banality of evil, her argument that ordinary seeming people can perpetuate extraordinary crimes within a compliant system remains debated even today. Some say that the phrase risks minimizing the event and also minimizing intent, but others see it as a warning about how bureaucracy and obedience can enable atrocity. Either way, the trial demonstrated that paperwork and meetings and train schedules, they can still be instruments of murder. When we tie it back to the song, in just this man's name, Billy Joel points to the moment when survivor voices, archival evidence, and then global television all converged to make the crimes undeniable and to ask, what it takes to hold, a bureaucrat, a planner, not just a trigger puller, to account. The reason why it matters, Eichmann's case shaped the law and memory of mass atrocity, individual responsibility, the limits of just following orders, and the role of public trials in teaching history. It's a template for how societies document and judge organized evil. If you learned something new off of today's episode, please leave me a like, a comment, a share. Any of those things would be much appreciated. I'm going to continue on making videos here based on the series. After Eichmann, I'm moving on to Stranger in a Strange Land. Thank you for watching.